leadership and what leadership means. So we talked about the fact that leadership is influence. So influence is actually an acronym in our textbook that we're using. So we're going to look at the first I tonight. What does I stand for? So we're going to go into that. Before we do, did anyone see my message there to be ready to read Luke 16:10? Who has it? Nobody saw that?
I haven't.
If there's any attention to the chat. All right.
I
Tracy,
saw
you have it?
something
All right.
I
that
saw
said there
it.
was a video coming on.
So Luke 16:10.
Yes.
He that is faithful in that which is the least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much.
Wow. That's the principle that we're looking at tonight. And more than just that, but it basically boils down to integrity. That the first I in influence is integrity. We have to be people of integrity if we're to have any kind of influence in the world. So we'll come back to that thought. But there's the author here, Jim Dornan, tells a story. It says a few years ago, while my wife Nancy and I were on a business trip to Europe, we celebrated her birthday in London. As her gift, I decided to take her to the Escada boutique to buy her an outfit or two. She tried on a number of things and liked all of them. While she was in the dressing room trying to decide which one to pick, I told the salesperson to wrap up the whole lot of it. Nancy tried to protest. She was embarrassed to buy so many things at one time, but I insisted. We both knew she'd get good use out of the clothes. Besides, she looked fabulous and everything. A couple of days later, we took the long flight out of Heathrow Airport in London to San Francisco International Airport. After we landed, we got in line for the inevitable customs check. When they asked what we had to declare, we told them about the clothes Nancy and I had bought and the amount we had spent. What? The agent said, "You're declaring clothes?" He read the figure we'd written and said, "You've got to be kidding." It's true we'd spent a little bit of money on them, but we didn't think it was that big a deal. "What are the clothes made of?" he asked. That seemed like an odd question. "Bunch of different things," answered Nancy. "Wool, cotton, silk, everything's different. They're dresses, coats, blouses, shoes, belts, accessories, why? Each kind of fabric has a different duty," he said. "I'll have to get my supervisor. I don't even know what all the different rates are. Nobody declares clothes." He looked frustrated. "Go ahead and pull everything out and sort it according to what it's made of." As we opened up our bags, he walked away and we could hear him saying to a coworker, "Bobby, you'll never believe this." Must have taken us a good 45 minutes to sort everything out, tally up how much we'd spent on each type of item. The duty turned out to be quite a bit, about $2,000. As we were putting everything back into our suitcase, the agent said, "You know what? I think I know you. Aren't you Jim Dornan?" "Yes," I answered. "I'm sorry, have we met before?" I didn't recognize him. "No," he said, "but I've got a friend who's in your organization. Network 21, right?" "That's right," I said. "I've seen your picture before." "You know," the agent said, "my friend has been telling me that I'd really benefit from hooking up with your organization, but I haven't really listened. Now I'm thinking I should reconsider. He might be right after all." See, most people I see every day try to get all kinds of things through customs without paying duty, even stuff they should know better about. But you guys, you're declaring stuff you could have gotten through with no problem. That's sure a lot of money you could have saved. "That may be true," answered Nancy, "but I can spare the money for customs a lot more than I can spare not having a clear conscience." As we stood in line that day, it didn't even occur to Nancy or me that anyone there might know us. If our intention had been to cheat our way through, we never would have suspected that we'd be recognized. We thought we were anonymous. I think that's what a lot of people think as they cut corners in life. "Who will ever know?" they say to themselves. But the truth is that other people know. Your spouse, children, friends, and business associates all know. And more important, even if you cover your tracks really well, they don't know what you're up to. You do. And you don't want to give away or sell your integrity for any price. Can you imagine? Could have got away with it. They must have spent a fortune on clothing. $2,000. But here's the principle here is genuine integrity is not for sale. Jim's experience with the customs agent is just one small example of how many people today think about when it comes to integrity. Sad to say, it no longer appears to be the norm, and when confronted by an example of honest character in action, many people seem shocked. Common decency is no longer common. So it's one of those things where, you know, when you do the right thing, people are surprised, and it should be the norm, but it's not. And when you have integrity, you kind of stand out from the crowd. People will notice that this is a person that's a person of integrity. They'll do things right. And it's amazing how God blesses us when we do the right thing. And I liked what his wife said, that my conscience is not for sale. My conscience is not for sale. I can't afford not to spend the money on duty, because I wouldn't be able to afford having it weigh on my conscience that I had cheated my way through. And, there's a clear conscience is worth a lot. In her case, it was several $1,000s. So you got to ask yourself, your conscience is worth more than all the money in the world. But you want to be able to have a clear conscience, and that comes through living with integrity. In his best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey wrote about the importance of integrity to a person's success. He said, if I try to use human influence strategies and tactics of how to get other people to do what I want, to work better, to be more motivated, to like me and each other, while my character is fundamentally flawed, marked by duplicity or insincerity, then in the long run, I cannot be successful. My duplicity will breed distrust, and everything I do, even using so-called good human relations techniques, will be perceived as manipulative. It simply makes no difference how good the rhetoric is or even how good the intentions are. If there's little or no trust, there is no foundation for permanent success. Only basic goodness gives life to technique. If we're to be successful as leaders, it requires integrity, that people can see through a fake. And if I lose trust with people, it doesn't matter how many other good things I have going, it doesn't do any good. It's all going to come crashing down eventually. So integrity is about the small things. This is why I had someone read Luke 16:10, that he that is unjust in little is unjust in much. This is a principle that Jesus declared in Luke, but we also find coming out all over the place in life, that this is so true, that if someone is not faithful in the little things, they won't be faithful in the big things either. So very important to remember that. And let's look at a few points here. It is the foundation upon which many other qualities are built, such as respect, dignity, and trust. People won't trust a person that doesn't have integrity. It should be a no-brainer, right? If I want people to trust me, I have to be a person of integrity. I can't trick people into trusting me, because when they find out the trick, they really won't trust me. There's, if I really want people to trust me, I have to be genuine. I can't be fake about it. As Cheryl Beale puts out, one of the realities of life is that you can't trust a person at all points. You can't truly trust him or her at any point. So you say, well, you can trust me when it comes to this area of life, but not in this area. It's only in this area that I have flaws. That's not going to work. You can't say, well, yeah, I have this problem over here, but you can trust me everywhere else. It doesn't work that way. We have to be consistent in every area of life. And this is true in the business world. Integrity is the quality most needed to succeed in business, but it's also true in the church, of course. Bill Brooks put it this way: he said, character is made of the small moments of our lives. Anytime you break a moral principle, you create a small crack in the foundation of your integrity. And when times get tough, it becomes harder to act with integrity, not easier. Character isn't created in a crisis, it only comes to light. Everything you've done in the past and the things you've neglected to do come to a head when you're under pressure. So if I don't have character and integrity in the small things, when something big comes along, it will destroy me. There'll be no real character there to withstand the trial. So we have to build character in the small things. You can't say, well, I can shoplift small items, but I'll never shoplift a big item. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to steal a candy bar, you'll steal $1 million, given the opportunity. What's the difference? It's the same approach to life. If you think you get away with it, you will. Josh Weston said this, that don't do what you wouldn't feel comfortable reading about in the papers the next day. Now, most of us don't live that public of a life, but some of us do. And the thing is, what if someone found out about it and posted it on social media, it's not necessarily the newspaper anymore. Would you want someone posting on social media what you did yesterday? Would you be okay with that?
It would
That
be
it
very,
means
very boring reading.
what you've been doing. You know, that's the question. You see, integrity is an inside job. Integrity comes from within. It's not something based on external circumstances. Many people get this wrong. But two people can grow up in the same environment, even in the same household. One will have integrity and the other won't. Ultimately, you're responsible for your choices. Your circumstances are as responsible for your character as a mirror is for your looks. If you're ugly, don't blame the mirror. If you're good looking, it's not because of the mirror. It's like, oh, I got this special mirror at home. It just makes me better looking. I think I look better on camera than I do in person, but that's another story. So integrity only reveals what's within. It's something that, you know, it gets exposed when we go through things, when we're faced with a opportunity or temptation to compromise on our integrity, but it only reveals what's already in the heart. And if we don't have integrity in our hearts already, it's going to come out later in life. Here's the other thing. Integrity is not based on credentials. Some people would like to be judged not by who they are, but by the titles they've earned or the position they hold, regardless of the nature of their character. Credentials can never accomplish what character can. Doesn't matter how many degrees you have, or you know what other kind of credentials you might earn, that does not give you character. You know, you hear this from people, oh, I have a certificate in this, that makes me qualified. No, it doesn't. Character makes you qualified. You know, there's you may need certain level of education to do certain jobs, but that alone is not sufficient. You have to have character, you have to have integrity to be able to complete that job. You can have a PhD and be unqualified because integrity is more important. Here's the thing, credentials are transient, character is permanent. Credentials turn the focus to rights, character keeps the focus on responsibilities. Credentials add value to only one person, character adds value to many people. Credentials look to past accomplishments, character builds a legacy for the future. Credentials often evoke jealousy in others, character generates respect and integrity. Credentials can only get you in the door, but character keeps you there. So important to not look to credentials as a source of integrity. This isn't where integrity comes from. It doesn't come from credentials, it comes from our character. Here's the other thing, integrity is not to be confused with reputation. Some people mistakenly emphasize image or reputation. William Hershey Davis has to say about the difference between character and its shadow reputation. He said, the circumstances amid which you live determine your reputation. The truth you believe determines your character. Reputation is what you're supposed to be. Character is what you are. Reputation is the photograph. Character is the face. Reputation comes over one from without. Character grows up from within. Reputation is what you have when you come to a new community. Character is what you have when you go away. Your reputation is made in a moment. Your character is built in a lifetime. Your reputation is learned in an hour. Your character does not come to light for a year. Reputation grows like a mushroom. Character lasts like eternity. Reputation makes you rich or makes you poor. Character makes you happy or makes you miserable. Reputation is what men say about you on your tombstone. Character is what the angels say about you before the throne of God. It's quite a difference. You see, a reputation can be totally inaccurate. What people say about you, they could fabricate lies and generate a whole reputation for you in the community. In fact, I've had that happen. But there are people that I am neighbors with that I have no idea of their true character because they've been slandered to me by their enemies. Maybe I should get to know them better, find out, but I don't know. But I've had people tell me, oh, this person's this and that and the other thing, and I have no idea if that's true or not. So that might be the reputation. I have no idea what their character is. And that can happen to any one of us, that someone gets it in for us. They can slander our reputation, but they cannot change our character. So you can lose your reputation and keep your character. That what people think about you doesn't have anything to do with who you really are. And that's important to keep that separated. Of course, the reputation is valuable. King Solomon said a good name is more desirable than great riches. But that's a reflection of your character. It's not the true character of who you are. Of course, we don't seek to have a bad reputation. That's certainly not our goal. But Jesus himself made himself of no reputation. Doesn't say he made himself a bad reputation, but he made himself of no reputation. But there was never any question about his character. E.L. Moody wrote, if I can take care of my character, my reputation will take care of itself. So if I have good character, my reputation will eventually catch up as people begin to recognize this is a person of integrity. This is a person with character. Praise God. Any questions so far? This is good, bad, ugly? All right. Here's some questions to help you measure your integrity. And I can make these available later if anyone wants them. Number one, how well do I treat people from whom I can gain nothing? How well do I treat people from whom I can gain nothing? Number two, am I transparent with others? Do we wear a mask? Not a COVID mask. Are we transparent with people? Do we hide behind an image? Do we pretend to be someone we're not? Do we try to cover up things that we don't want others to see? Or are we truly transparent? Closely related to that, number three, do I role play based on the persons I'm with? Do I become a different person when I'm around certain people? That's an integrity question. Ouch. Are you genuine, or do you change because you want to impress that person or whatever? Number four, am I the same person when I'm in the spotlight as I am when I'm alone? Am I the same at home as when I'm in public? Number five, do I quickly admit wrongdoing without being pressed to do so? Am I ready to admit my mistakes, or do I need someone to corner me and beat it out of me? That's an integrity question. These are soul-searching questions that should not be rushed. I want to go over these slowly. Think about them. Do I put other people ahead of my personal agenda? That's a tough one. Do I have an unchanging standard for moral decisions, or do circumstances determine my choices? Are certain things black and white, or do I modify them based on how much it benefits me? Do I make difficult decisions even when they have a personal cost attached to them? Difficult. You know, it's never easy to do the right thing. I shouldn't say never, sometimes it is, but many times doing the right thing will cost you. If you're in the workplace and you've made a costly mistake and you need to tell your boss, or you can cover it up, which do you do? I always owned my mistakes when I was welding. I actually got a bit of a reputation for ratting myself out all the time. A lot of other welders would cover up their mistakes, and I would tell on myself all the time and say, you know what, this is the mistake I made. This is what I tried to do. You know, I would just own it. In fact, I think one workplace I went too far with that kind of thinking. They thought I was the worst welder there because nobody else did it, and I was the only one always outing myself. They started to think I was less than the others. But it was just a matter of integrity for me that, you know what, I'm going to be honest. And although they may have thought I wasn't the greatest welder, I knew I had the respect of the foreman in the shop because he knew I was honest. And he was the type of guy that was one of these type A, tell it like it is guys that wasn't easy to impress. But on that front, I knew he respected me. And if you try and impress somebody with your skills and you do it at the cost of your integrity, you lose their respect. I'll put it that way. That's number 9. When I have something to say about people, do I talk to them or about them? Do I talk to them or about them? Am I accountable to at least one other person for what I think, say, and do? That's a tough one. A lot of us might have a no answer behind that one, but am I accountable to at least one other person for what I think, say, and do? There's different levels of accountability. If you're married, ask your spouse on some of these things. They'll keep you accountable. There are others that you might need someone in authority to be your accountability. And then sometimes you just need a good friend that you can call up that has an objective stance that will ask you personal questions to say, are you doing what you said you were going to do when you said you do it? And, there's so many different levels to integrity. But integrity is your best friend. It will keep you through things. So when others criticize you unfairly, it helps you keep going, take the high road of not striking back. And when others' criticism is valid, integrity helps you to accept what they say, learn from it, and keep growing. A person with little integrity can't handle criticism. They'll either lash back or reject it outright or whatever. But a person of integrity says, okay, I'm not going to respond, badly. And secondly, I'm going to look for, is there a kernel of truth in any of this? Even though it's coming at me maybe with the wrong attitude or the wrong spirit from this other person, is there anything to their criticism? Is there something I can grow from here? Thing is, integrity is not only your best friend, it's also your friend's best friend. When the people around you know that you're a person of integrity, they know that you want to influence them because of the opportunity to add value to their lives. They don't have to worry about your motives. So if other people know you're a person of integrity and you're trying to influence them in some way or another, they recognize that, this person's just trying to help me grow. They're not in this for a power trip. They're not trying to, just benefit from my life somehow, but they're really, to the best of their ability, trying to add value to my life. And that's where leadership can become very personal, but it can also be very powerful for all parties involved at that level that, okay, I'm adding value to this person's life. They're growing from it. That's what we want to see with leadership, that we're leading other people to grow in ways they wouldn't grow without our help. So that's really what we want to influence people positively. We want to influence people towards the Lord. We want to influence people to grow in their walk with God, all of those things. And when we can successfully do that, people will grow. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see happen. And it can be fulfilling on the one hand and deceptive on the other, in that we should not, if our personal benefit from that is that it starts to make us feel powerful or something, we're in trouble. We don't want to be doing it for the wrong reasons. Sometimes people get into positions of power because it makes them feel powerful. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but power can be dangerous. The bottom line when it comes to integrity is that it allows others to trust you. So if you have true integrity, others will trust you. And without trust, you have nothing. So if I want to be a leader of any kind, I have to have trust from others. Trust is the single most important factor in personal and professional relationships. It is the glue that holds people together, and it is the key to becoming a person of influence. And of course, trust is a rare commodity these days. Someone put it this way. They said, we thought we could trust the military, but then came Vietnam. We thought we could trust politicians, but then came Watergate. We thought we could trust the engineers, but then came the Challenger disaster. We thought we could trust our broker, but then came Black Monday. We thought we could trust the preachers, but then came PTL and Jimmy Swaggart. So who can you trust? That's the mentality of the world, that there's nobody out there that they trust. They're cynical. They don't really have trust in anyone. So being a person of integrity will certainly give you the opportunity to have people trust you, even when they don't trust anyone else. So character is made up of the small moments of our lives, Phillips Brooks said. So there's these little things that just help us. So if you want to become someone who can positively influence other people, you need to develop the following qualities of integrity, live them out every day. This will go on top of what I taught this morning, but I'll just briefly hit the highlights here. Number one, model consistency of character. That was a prayer of mine when I was probably in my late teens. God, help me to be consistent. I just wanted to be consistent. And I didn't necessarily feel that I was all that consistent, but when I graduated Bible school, that was one of the compliments I received from classmates, was that they said, you're really consistent. And I thought, wow, I don't feel consistent, but I guess I was. I was always in class, and never late, all that kind of stuff. I don't think I hardly ever missed a class. And they just, that earned their respect. Employ honest communication. Again, your speech has to match your actions. Value transparency. People eventually find out your flaws, even if you try to hide them. But if you're honest with people, admit your weaknesses, they will appreciate your honesty and integrity. They'll be able to relate to you better. Kerry Newhoff has a lot of good stuff to say about this on his website. There is such a thing as oversharing. You don't need to share every personal detail of your life and all the struggles you're facing and all that kind of thing. But there should be a certain level of transparency. And I think the key he gave was that share the struggles that you've gotten the victory over. That, maybe last year you were struggling with this, but God gave you the victory over it. And now you're able to share, not only did I struggle with this, but this is the answer. This is what God gave me to help me overcome it. This is how I was able to achieve victory. Your current struggles, save for after God's got you through it. Unless you're sharing it with someone that's in a peer relationship or a mentoring relationship with you. But for those you're leading, share the struggles that you now have victory over. So again, they're sharing up and they're sharing down. So if you're sharing to those that you're leading, be transparent about the things you used to struggle with. If it's those that you're following, you can certainly share the things you're currently struggling with and say, what, I need help in this area. And then you're able to get that and share it down. Demonstrate your support of others. It's not a competition when we're in leadership. We can celebrate other people's success. Next thing, fulfill your promises. Never promise anything you can't deliver. And when you say you'll do something, follow through on it. A sure way to break trust with others is to fail to fulfill your commitments. This is one area where I will be honest, I still struggle in this. I haven't got the victory yet. Simply because I forget. It's not that I'm intentional about it, it's just I tend to forget things. So one thing I've found helps a lot is technology. If I say I'm going to do something, I put it in my phone. If it doesn't go in my phone, it usually doesn't get done. So that's one way I've just been able to help myself in that area, is to say, what, if I say I'm going to do something, I need to write it down, put it in my phone, put it on my calendar. That way I know it's going to get done. Embrace an attitude of service. So important that we have that humble attitude, just like we talked about in our watch night service, an attitude of service. Encourage two-way participation with the people you influence. So the goal of influence is not manipulation, it's participation. Only as you include others in your life and success do you permanently succeed. So let other people participate in what you're doing. This is why, and even in house church, we have all these different roles and job descriptions for people. Get them involved. Don't try to do everything yourself. So the benefit of trust, of course, is influence. I mentioned earlier some of the dangers of power, so let's talk about that. Power can be a dangerous thing. In most cases, those who want power probably shouldn't have it. Those who enjoy it probably do so for the wrong reasons. And those who want most to hold on to it don't understand that it's only temporary. As Abraham Lincoln said, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Most people can handle going through trouble and trials and all that kind of thing, but put someone in a place of power to find out what their real character is like. It will come out. A really great fiction book on this actually is called The Crown of Eden by Thomas Williams. Highly recommend it. It really emphasizes this point in some rather hilarious ways. To become a person of integrity. In the end, you can bend your actions to conform to your principles, or you can bend your principles to conform to your actions. It's your choice. But we want to make sure that our actions conform to our principles. That if I'm to be like Jesus, I have to make sure every action in my life conforms to his image, to who he is. Praise God. So some keys here: commit yourself to honesty, reliability, and confidentiality. These are very important things to anyone in leadership. Decide ahead of time you don't have a price. Don't wait to be asked what your price is. Decide ahead of time you're not for sale. That's, you know, there are people out there that believe every man has a price. You'll bump into them eventually. Decide now that you don't have one. That's really important. Major in the minor things. Little things make or break us. If you cross the line of your values, whether it's by an inch or by a mile, you're still out of bounds. This comes back to our opening text, that he that is faithful in the least is faithful also in much. He that is unjust in least is unjust in much. It's a biblical principle that if we draw outside the lines even a little bit, we'll do it a whole lot. There's outside the fence is outside the fence. Doesn't matter how far you go. Each day, do what you should do before what you want to do. William James stated the idea more strongly. He said, everybody ought to do at least 2 things each day that he hates to do just for the practice. So pick 2 things a day that you hate doing, that you don't need doing, and do them just for practice. It will help with your integrity and self-denial and all that kind of thing. Praise God. Any other comments, questions? I see Caleb's waving. He's telling me to shut it down. I see that hand, Caleb. Right on, I'm done. Praise God. I'll stop the recording if it's